When you see somebody who's a millionaire or a billionaire, do you really think they're working a million more times than you are? A million times harder? A billion times harder? No, they simply have a lot more leverage than you do. In this video, we are going to analyze what school didn't teach you about money, escaping the rat race by Gabe Bolt.
63% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, and more than half of Americans earning between $100,000 to $150,000 also live paycheck to paycheck. And we also see stories of lottery winners and athletes who have millions of dollars but then go broke.
What a lot of people don't get is that if you make more money, it doesn't mean that you're going to stay rich, that you're going to keep that money. A lot of people think, oh, if only I had more money, then all of my financial problems would be solved. And part of it is true, but there is also another part to the problem that they're not addressing. And that is the fact that yes, you can make a lot of money. Like he said, the pro athletes, the celebrities, they make millions of dollars, sometimes almost billions of dollars. However, lots of them, they go broke. In fact, 78% of pro athletes, they go broke within 3 years of retirement. And it's not like they make pennies, they make millions of dollars throughout their career, yet they end up broke. And 70% of lottery winners, they just lose everything within a couple years. So what does this tell us? It tells us two things. The first thing is that making a lot of money is great, but it's not going to make you rich. And the second thing is that you need to know how to keep your money, not only how to make more money. If you make $5,000 a month and you spend $5,000 a month, you can see that there is a problem. But let's say you get a raise, like a big raise, and you make $10,000 a month. Well, if you increase your spendings as well, and you spend $10,000 a month, your financial problem is not solved. You make more money, you make twice as much more money, but your problem is still the same. So as you can see, just because you have more money or a higher income, it doesn't mean that it is going to solve your financial issues right from the beginning. Now, when it comes to living paycheck to paycheck, a lot of people live paycheck to paycheck every month. In fact, most people don't really have that many savings in the bank. So how can this be fixed? What is the solution? In my opinion, yes, you can try to save some money, you can try to reduce your expenses, but what really matters is that you learn to budget so that you don't actually spend more money than you need to. And you might think, oh, but rich people, they buy supercars, they buy private jets. Surely they spend so much money, like just as much as they make, right? In reality, rich people, they might spend a lot of money, but that's because they can afford to do so. If you make $100,000 a month, you can afford to spend $10,000 a month. And when you can spend that amount of money, you can have an incredible lifestyle. You can live in a penthouse and drive a supercar. And if you don't believe me, you can drive a supercar for $2,000 a month or so. And same thing, a penthouse, you can rent it. Obviously, it's going to depend on where that penthouse is or how big it is. But let's say a luxurious 2-bedroom apartment in a big city like London, you could have it for $3,000 a month, $4,000 a month. So if we add up the car, 2.5k per month, and the luxurious 2-bedroom apartment, which is going to be, let's say, 4k a month, that's 7.5k per month. So I'm sure that you can see that if you spend $10,000 a month because you make $100,000 a month, you still have a big margin and you are safe and secure. Yet at the same time, you can spend money and have an incredibly luxurious lifestyle. So if you're not making that much money, yes, the first step is to cut your expenses as much as you can and to save as much money as possible. But then what is the next step? You can only save up so much money. If you make $50,000 a year, you'd be lucky if you managed to save $10,000 per year. And let's say that you were very extreme and you in fact managed to save $10,000 every year. Then what do you do with that money? Because year after year, with inflation, it is losing value. This means that year after year, your buying power is reducing. You're doing the same amount of work, you're putting in the same amount of sacrifice, but you get less. So obviously we don't want that. This is why you need to find a way to reinvest that money, to multiply it. And that's how rich people are able to keep getting richer and richer and richer while the poor is getting poorer. Because rich people invest in assets. If you have $10 million slipping in your bank account, with inflation you're going to lose money. So you will end up less rich than you actually were. However, if you invested that $10 million in real estate or in the stock market, thanks to inflation and to other things, to changes in the market, year after year, your worth would grow because those assets, they would gain value, making you richer as a result. And if you invested in the stock market, you'll receive dividends, for instance, and those dividends, they can completely pay for your lifestyle. And you have to know that your investment portfolio, like let's say in the stock market, it is also going to increase in value year after year. And that is, of course, if you do your research properly and you invest in something that you understand. You never want to invest in something that you do not understand. That is a recipe for bankruptcy, for failure, and for catastrophe. You always want to first gather the knowledge that you need and then you apply that knowledge. People say that knowledge is power. This is not true. Knowledge is only power when it is coupled with ruthless implementation.
That more money is not always the answer. A few years ago, when I was 24, I was able to leave my day job. My brother just left his day job, and I know a bunch of other people who have done the same. Now, escaping the rat race is hard, but it's not complicated. It's not impossible. Almost anybody can achieve it. You just need to know a few things that unfortunately they don't teach you in school.
Can anybody, technically speaking, live the rat race forever? I would say yes. Now, can everybody become a millionaire and can everybody make 7 figures a year? I don't think that's necessarily realistic. However, technically speaking, if you invested in the stock market, if you invest a certain amount, you will get a certain amount out. So this means that it only becomes a matter of just some simple mathematics to calculate how much you would need to invest to get, let's say, $10,000 a month in passive dividends earnings. But in my opinion, the best way to go about making more money, it's not to get a raise or to get a better degree and to get a better job. In my opinion, the best way to make money and to reach 6 or even 7 figures a year, technically even 8 figures a year, even 9 figures a year, the sky isn't even the limit at this point. It is to start your own business. Now, not every business is the same. If you open up a restaurant, technically speaking, yes, it is a business. However, compared to a cash flow producing online business, the difference is night and day. To start the restaurant, you would need to have so many upfront costs. You'd probably need to go and take a loan or to raise money because probably you don't have 50k to start your own restaurant. You would need to pay for the location, so the rent, you would need to pay for the staff, for the food, for the drinks, for the electricity, and everything else. And if your business venture fails because you didn't do proper research beforehand, you are stuck with so much debt, it's going to take you forever to pay it off. Now, on the other hand, if you decided to start your own online service-based business, you could start it for less than $1,000. And if you really wanted to, you could even start it for free. It doesn't mean that it's easy to succeed with. However, there's plenty of people, plenty of success stories. You can look it up online. They started their own online business. Maybe they started by recording some YouTube videos or reaching out to people and offering them their services, their done-for-you services, or they started to reach out to other businesses and to offer them done-for-you services. And those people now they're making 10k a month, 15k a month, 100k a month. I mean, really, the sky is not even the limit, like I said. If you want to figure out what's the best online business to start for beginners, but you don't know where to start, I have recorded a free video in which I'm going to analyze every popular online business model. We're going to take a look at the pros and at the cons together. And I'm also going to share with you the simple 3-step process that you can use to start getting your first customers right away. The link is in the description below.
In the simplest terms, money is a medium of exchange used universally to value things. While your perception of value might be different than somebody else's, the market as a whole decides what the value of an item is.
This is completely true. A lot of people, they're going to say that money is bad, or that if you have a lot of money, you must have done some really nasty things to get to the top. Like I saw at some point a picture of somebody on top of like a mountain of corpses, and it was like supposed to be, oh, this is the CEO, look what they had to do to get to the top. That's not necessarily the case. There's poor people that are dicks, there's rich people that are dicks, but it's not about how much money you make. If you're a very generous person, you're very kind, you love to help out others, if you become a millionaire, you will just keep doing what you're doing. Money doesn't necessarily change people, it amplifies who they are. If you're very selfish, you don't really care about other people, if you have more money, the same is going to be true. You'll be selfish and you won't give to other people. But if you're very generous, very kind, you love to help out others, and you become a millionaire, well, you'll do the same. However, there is one big difference. If you've got a lot of money, you can do a lot more good. Because if you're poor and you want to solve world hunger, then honestly, how could you do that? But if you're a billionaire, on the other hand, it's going to be a lot easier because you will need a lot of money to solve that kind of problem. So money is not good or bad. It's simply a tool that we use to exchange value.
There are a ton of different ways that you can value something, from scarcity to use, but really the more those line up, the higher the perceived value of those goods or services will be. Now, taking a look at my own life, and I always like to share the things that I've learned and the stupid stuff that I did really wrong, which is a lot of things. I realized that if I wanted to leave my 9-to-5 and the multiple other jobs that I was working, I couldn't just continue trading time for money, which is what most people encourage you to do. It's what most people do. I couldn't really have a great standard of living when I was working my job cleaning office buildings and the other side jobs I had going on. I was just working constantly.
It's true that if you want to make a lot of money, at some point you won't always be able to trade your time for more money. Like even if you have some qualifications, you can get a raise for sure. Like let's say you make $12 an hour. That's your starting point. You could get up to $100 an hour. That's a big increase. However, let's be honest, you cannot work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And even if you could, what kind of life would that even be? So a lot of people, they're mistaken. They think that it's all about how hard they work, how long they work. Like a lot of people, when they start their own online business, they think, how many hours a day should I be working? In reality, they are asking the wrong question. They are focusing on the wrong metric, because that, it doesn't actually matter. What matters is what you do during the time that you are working. You could spend 12 hours a day just crafting your logo. It's not going to make you any money because your customers, they don't care about your logo. Like I see this happen all of the time. Some people, they want to start a business. They have a cool idea, whatever. But then, oh, guess what? They struggle to even just pick a name for their company because they think it really matters. They think it has to be this crazy thing. Let me tell you, there's there's a company called Apple, and guess what? They're leading the tech market, they're dominating, they're crushing the competition, and they are making billions of dollars. And people, even low-income earners, they're standing literally at the store when a new product is launched because they want it that bad. So when people say, I don't have the money, like it's a common sales objection, it can be that yes, fair enough, they don't actually have the money at this moment in time. But it could also be that they're not seeing the value in what you have to offer, and so there is a mismatch between how much your product is worth, how much you are selling it for, and the perceived value that the customer, or in this case the prospect, is getting out of it. For instance, if I sold you a laptop for $10,000, you might only have the budget for $500. So you might think, okay, there is this big discrepancy in value because the perceived value is lower than that. You were willing to pay me $500 and I'm trying to sell it to you for $10,000. So obviously the sale will not occur. Now, if working longer hours or working more, it's not going to make you richer because you're trading your time for money, then what can you do? A lot of people are going to think, oh, I know, I need to get passive income streams, or I need to start multiple streams of income. In reality, the whole concept about having multiple streams of income, it's a really bad idea. I've made a YouTube video where we explain why having multiple income streams at the same time is actually a really bad idea. I'll make it appear on top of your screen if you're interested. You need more leverage. That's the solution. And how do you obtain leverage? Well, typically you can either leverage other people's time, other people's capital, like for instance the capital of the bank or of investors. That's typically what startup founders are trying to do. They leverage the capital of investors because they don't have it themselves. Or another way to get some capital to start a big business like a clothing brand, an e-commerce brand, a software company is to start a smaller cash flow generating business and to then use the money generated with that business to start the big company that requires a lot of startup capital. And then you can leverage automations, artificial intelligence, or machines. Because if you had a machine do the work for you, then you wouldn't need to do it anymore. So you can just get more machines and more work is done without you having to work harder or longer necessarily. So that's another form of leverage. But as you can see with a traditional job, let's say you're a lawyer, you don't really have that much leverage. I mean, the only thing that you could do really, if you wanted to make more money past a certain point, it would be to open up your own law firm. But that is incredibly difficult. You need to pick the right vehicle that allows you to make 6 or 7 figures a year. If you live in the United States, yes, you could maybe get to 7 figures a year by being a lawyer, but that would be after decades of slave-like hours, of 80 to 90-hour work weeks, of having no time for your friends, for your family, for your hobbies. Whereas if you start an online business, you can reach that 7 figures a year mark in a way that is a lot more effective, and you can also reach it a lot faster.
For not all that much money, what I really didn't know at that time was that money wasn't equal to the time spent working. Now in school, we spend a lot of time working on projects, studying, and taking tests to try to get the best results that we can. And I think this really installs in us that hard work equals better results. If you study and work really hard on a project, you'll probably get a good test score on that project, which is not a bad thing. And while that's true, in many cases, it's not relevant. This project you spent 5 hours on could still get a bad mark. All the studying that you did for a test, they could have different answers on the test. It happens all the time, and you can still get a bad grade. This also happens a lot at work, where your boss and you might not be on the same page, or you put in a lot of effort, but the other people on your team don't put in as much effort as you do. I think another thing a lot of people don't think about with money is the opportunity cost that goes along with earning it and pretty much everything about it. Like while you're working on a project, you could have spent that same time maybe looking for new clients or networking, and most people really never consider that. They waste hours every day doing miscellaneous things that don't really add anything to the bottom line.
The time that you're spending doing one thing is time that you cannot spend doing something else. Like to give you an example, if you have your own consulting business, stop worrying about your logo or your company name or all of those trivial things. Just pick one and stick with it. You should be focusing most of your time on reaching out to potential customers, on closing sales calls. That's what most of your time should be spent doing. This is where you need to put your focus, not on making sure that your logo is great or that your website looks all pretty. And also on the topic of hard work. Don't get me wrong, you need to work hard at whatever it is that you do. Because to be honest, it's easier to just, for 5 hours, be trying to find a company name as opposed to taking sales calls or delivering the work for your client. That is a lot harder than simply, like I said, trying to come up with a nice logo or trying to make your website look all pretty. But what actually makes money, it's not these things. So yes, you need to work hard. That is for sure. That's a given, no matter which business you decide to start. However, hard work on its own, it is not enough. And I know the hustle culture people are going to lash out at me for even just saying this, but it is simply true. When you see somebody who's a millionaire or a billionaire, do you really think they're working a million more times than you are? A million times harder? A billion times harder? No, they simply have a lot more leverage than you do. So it's not only about working hard, but it's about working smart. If you work at the wrong thing, no matter how hard you work, you'll never get to 6 or even 7 figures a year. I give this example all of the time. If you work super hard, you put all of your soul into your job, you work 12 hours a day making burgers at a fast food joint. It doesn't matter if you are the hardest working employee on planet Earth, because with that job, you will never make 7 figures a year. harder. However, with an online business, the possibility is there. So as you can see, you not only need to work harder for sure because it's not going to be easy, but you also need to work smart, meaning working at the right thing. School doesn't prepare you to start a business. It teaches you how to be an employee. It teaches you be there at this hour and you can leave at this hour. And there's also one thing that I really hated in school, like I had to be there to sit, and if I completed the test before other people, I couldn't leave and do other things. No, I had to sit there and just wait, while there was simply no point. So school encouraged us to waste time, when in reality what is more precious than money? It is time. We only have so much time in a day and in an entire lifetime. If we waste it, it is lost forever. Every second that is gone, it is forever gone. You will never get it back. So make sure you spend your time wisely.
And that really just comes back to the idea of opportunity cost. Because you're saying yes to one thing, you're automatically saying no to something else, and that is costing you money that you could have earned. Now this brings us to value creation. We are generally paid for creating value of some sort. So if we want to up how much we're earning, we also need to up how much value we are creating for people. So you got to think about, how can you create value for others? For example, at work, you could try to learn a new skill. You could educate yourself more on your area of expertise, or simply eliminate some distractions and try to get more done in the day.
I mean, the only difference in pay between somebody who is making burgers at your local fast food joint and somebody who is actually a doctor or even a lawyer, it's how much value they are providing to other people. Obviously, a doctor or a lawyer, they're solving bigger, more painful problems than somebody who is simply making burgers at the local McDonald's or Burger King. That person is only solving the problem that these people, they want something tasty to eat, but they're not starving, while a lawyer, he could solve a very important financial problem for you, or a doctor could save your life. So as you can see, the difference is night and day, and that's why the doctor and the lawyer, they will be paid significantly more money than the average fast food employee. The same is true in business. You want to solve a painful problem for a market that is willing to pay for it. I can guarantee that if you came up with the pill and it helps people to lose 20 pounds, all they have to do is to ingest it. Overnight, they lose the 20 pounds, or on the opposite, they gain the 20 pounds of muscle. Everybody would be buying that pill. I can guarantee it. Most people, they would buy it at some point. Why? Because humans want that outcome, and also they are lazy. We are programmed to be lazy. It would not make sense from an evolutionary perspective to be programmed to be wasting our precious energy, because it is crucial to our survival. Not too long ago, food was pretty scarce, and it is still the case for a lot of people all over the world. So for that reason, your body and your brain, they're smart. They want to keep you alive. They want to help you to survive. That's why we are less inclined to do more physical things, and we are always looking for the easiest shortcut. What's the best, quickest, most efficient way to do things? That's literally programmed into our DNA. So when you start a business, do not start a business around your passion. Don't start selling your grandmother's cookie recipe because you think this is what other people want. And I'm sure that this recipe is amazing and very tasty. However, it's not solving a deep, a painful problem that people would be willing to pay thousands of dollars for. The more painful the problem that you solve, the more money people are going to be willing to pay for it. Like we said at the beginning of this video, money is simply a tool to exchange value. So the more value you can give to somebody, the more money they will be willing to pay you in return. That's how the game works. Like I said, a lot of people, they want to start a business around their passion, but they're thinking about themselves. They're being selfish here. If you try to come up with all of these different ideas of what people want in your head, but you don't actually go and ask people what they want, chances are you will fail that business, because you're not going to give people exactly what they want and exactly what they need. To give you an example, if I wanted to make a gym better, let's say I own a gym and I want to make it better, I want to make the customer experience incredible. Should I just write down a list and come up with a bunch of ideas of what I think people might want? I can, for sure, but I might end up adding things to the gym that people just don't care. I might end up buying the wrong machines, buying the wrong equipment, and in the end, nobody uses it. Wouldn't it be smarter, wiser, to just go around the gym and ask people what they want, what flows could be corrected, what equipment they want to have, what machines they want to use? People will simply tell you what they want. That's why before you start your business, you want to do market research. Because if you don't, it's kind of like you're trying to sell meat to vegan people. Well, obviously, you'll just go bankrupt. Your business is not going to work. So with that said, if you want to discover what's the best online business to start for beginners, I have recorded a free video in which I analyze every popular online business model to figure out together which one is the best. We take a look at the pros, at the cons, and I'm also going to share with you the 3-step process that you can use to start getting your first customers. The link is in the description below if you are interested. And with that said, as always, I am waiting for you on the other side.